Has anyone heard of the Eddie Malouf? Well, that guy 2 years ago told me that I should go all in on content. And I did. But it was awful. Look at me at that WeWork. I was posting every single day. It was cringy as fuck. And worst of all, I was not getting any results. Fast forward 2 years later, I went from being trash at content to now 674,000 followers on Instagram, 246,000 subscribers on YouTube, 386,000 followers on TikTok. We've gone viral more times than I can even post on the next slide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and way more. We've generated tens of millions of views with no Instagram shoutouts, with no boosting videos or engagement, with no paid following, 100% organic. The craziest part, we hit $1 million a month in cash collected in 30 days this year, actually a little bit more. I have direct access to the best pool of talent. These guys right here are my creative directors. Shout out to these guys. As you can see, they were generating hundreds of thousands of views on their YouTube, and because of my brand, I was able to get them to come and join me and do all of my content full time. I've been able to connect with some crazy successful people like Dan Bilzerian, got on a Zoom with him. Vic Keller, I literally DM'd him. This guy sold 8 companies to Warren Buffett. He's a billionaire. I just sent him a DM. I said, hey, want to come on my podcast? He said, sure. I said, hey, can I fly out to see you? He said, yeah, let's do it. So in February, I'll be flying out to see him and spend the day with him. And he's a billionaire, just from a DM. Or Spencer Raskoff, the CEO of Zillow. And it gets me to speak on stages like right now. Eddie asked me, you want to speak at Agency Founders? I said, sure, when? January, cool. So for today, my goal is to teach you the 10 biggest content commandments that I learned from cracking the code on content. That being said, a quick warning. When people ask me to teach them content, it's kind of like them asking me, hey, Joel, how do I build a business? Like if someone asks you guys right now, hey, how do you build a business? It's not that simple. There's a lot that goes into it. It's fucking complicated. There's a lot. So I'm going to go over the top 10 commandments I wish I knew when starting out. Then we're going to dive it up. Then we're going to open it up for Q&A, and I'm going to even invite my creative directors up to join me on stage. You guys ready? Does that sound good? You guys want to learn about this? All right. Let's dive in. Obviously, we've got to have some good pictures because I do have great thumbnail designers. So commandment number 1, don't get views. You don't want to get views. I know that sounds a little crazy, but let me explain. There's 3 types of content. Traffic content. The goal with this type of content is to get views. This is the type of content you don't want to start out with. And by the way, this is the type of content most people start out with. They're like, oh, how do I post online to generate views, to go viral? And it makes sense, right? You're like, oh yeah, I got to go up I got to go get on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, and be the next Hormozy. Everyone's thinking that. But it's actually the worst place to start. So for example, my videos where I get up, or where I'm on a podcast, and I'm like, oh, I'm on a mission to destroy all the gurus on the internet, it's going to go viral, but it actually doesn't lead to an ROI, and I'll explain why later. The second type of content that you guys need to understand is called nurturing content. The goal with nurturing content is to get clients. It's going to help you nurture the people that already know who you are so that they get to know you even more, like you even more, trust you even more, and get you to buy. So for example, when I invite my top performing clients to fly out to Denver and spend an hour with me on my podcast, and I upload that video, and I just ask them to share their story, and they inevitably tell people, hey, I joined Joel's program, it's selling my program without me even having to ask them to. Anyone that watches those videos is going to say to themselves, oh, I want to join Joel's program. So the goal is to create a piece of content that's going to get you clients, get people to convert. And then the last piece is networking content. One of the greatest hacks of all time with content and building your personal brand is that it opens the door to new connections. So for example, Mike, I didn't even send this email. This was my creative director, Lyndon, emailed Neil Patel and said, hey, you want to hop on the podcast with Joel Kaplan? He said, sure. We're going to fly out in February to LA, to Beverly Hills, to hang out at his house and do a podcast. So I get access to a $100 million entrepreneur just from an email. And really, the goal with that podcast that we're going to film, yes, it's going to get views. Yes, people are going to like it. But the ultimate goal was I wanted to connect with Neil. That's why I'm having him on the podcast. It's a strategic piece of content. Does that make sense so far, actually? Yes? No? Anyone confused as fuck? No? Okay. Don't get views. So unless you guys are trying to get famous, you guys should all focus on nurturing content first. Most people, when starting out creating content, they ask themselves, how do I get more views? Instead, you should ask yourself, how do I create content that gets more buyers? This is the question everyone needs to start asking themselves. How do I create content that gets me more buyers first? I'm not saying optimizing for views isn't important, but for most of you guys in this room right now, you're not going to be the next Hormozy. You're not going to be the next Mr. Beast. But you do want to create content to get all of your prospects to buy from you. You guys want more money, right? Yes? Not sure about it? Probably in the wrong conference. So your personal brand should be used as a way to convert the traffic you're already getting. And you should also use it as a way to get your prospects nurtured on you, even your team nurtured on you, for talent acquisition, etc., not to get new traffic. Then once you have nurturing content dialed in, move on to networking content, and then after that, move on to traffic. And I'm going to break down exactly what that looks like today, so don't worry. But this is one of the biggest mistakes that people make when starting to create content. Let me ask you guys, take a second. Why would you guys want to build a personal brand? What comes to mind? Can anyone share? Trust? Okay, great. But trust for what? Revenue. Influence, but why? Okay, so money. Monetization. Is anyone here doing it just to get famous? No. This is why the idea of getting views and optimizing for views is shitty. And it's, you guys see me here on stage, I get millions and millions of views, and I'm here to tell you that if I were in your shoes, I would actually ignore all of that. And I'm actually going to explain how to get views later today if you guys want that. That being said, you guys need to start with understanding the type of content you're creating. There's 3 types of content. Content to get views, content to get buyers, content to build connections. You guys should start with 2 and 3, not 1. Which brings us to commandment number 2. Make videos that get people to buy. So I'm not saying don't make content. I'm saying make content that gets you the desired outcome. So before building a personal brand, you guys need to create these 10 videos immediately. As soon as you go home, you know, right now over this conference, you've learned a lot. You probably have a lot of takeaways. Add this to your fucking list because these 10 videos will make you a lot of money. First, you want to create an entire VSL. So just like you guys have a VSL on your funnels, maybe you send it to prospects and upload it to YouTube. Make it look like a YouTube video. What we've noticed is that when we send a YouTube video to our prospects to watch, they're much more likely to watch it than an actual VSL on a landing page. So now in our pre-call process, we upload our VSL to our YouTube channel, and what we do is we just send them the YouTube video. They're like, hey, we're like, hey, watch this YouTube video explaining a little bit more about us before your call with us. The reason why that's powerful is because they're consuming a sales letter, but they feel like it's a piece of content. Now, if you want to take it a step further, this is really advanced. You can even do a podcast VSL, where the whole podcast is actually you taking them through the entire VSL, but it feels like a conversation. That's harder to execute on. I've only seen a few people do it. But the idea is, how can you create content that feels like content, but it's actually selling them? You want to also create 8 case study podcasts. Ideally, you film them in person. What I would do if I were all of you guys is reach out to your 8 top clients. 8 top clients, and you're going to want to interview them in the style of a podcast. It's not going to be like a testimonial video. It's not going to be them breaking down, their results very directly. You want to ask them about their story. You want to let the conversation flow naturally, and you want to do this case study podcast, again, ideally in person with your best clients, if not on Zoom, and you're going to upload it to YouTube. And then the last piece is you're going to take every single frequently asked question that you get in your sales process and every single objection handle, and you're going to turn that into a YouTube video and upload that as well. So now when someone works with you guys, you say, hey, check out our YouTube channel before you hop on the call. We've got some really valuable content for you guys. And the 10 videos that they're watching are 8 of your best clients as a podcast, which is much easier to consume. You've got a VSL, and you've got a video breaking down all of your objections and frequently asked questions. Everyone needs to start with these 10 videos. Now, here's the genius part. You're going to upload them to YouTube, Spotify, your pre-call page that you send out to prospects before the call, and your 10-day nurturing email sequence as soon as someone joins your list. Because, again, you're not sending them to a funnel now, you're sending them to your YouTube channel, which makes it a lot easier for people to actually consume. For example, actually, before I go to the next bullet, how many of you guys find it easier to consume YouTube content than a VSL on a funnel? It's like just natural. You're just used to it. It doesn't feel like you're being sold, but we are selling them. Everyone needs to start with these 10 videos. You can even clip up some of this short, you can even clip up these longer form videos as short form content and distribute it out on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, LinkedIn, etc. The goal here is to have content where if anyone finds you on the internet, if they consume these videos, they will convert. That's it. It's like the core, I call it the core 10. If someone finds your agency or your business on the internet and they consume these 10 videos on your channel, their likelihood of converting go way up. Once you have these, does that make sense? Cool. Once you have these 10 videos done, move on to this. Build a multi-platform authority podcast. This is the easiest way to actually do content and commit to it. Who here has told themselves that they're going to do content and they don't? I'm surprised there aren't even more hands because I feel like even myself, I'm like, I'm going to do even more content, and then I don't. It's really hard. Doing content is hard. It's a never-ending commitment. It's not like a paid ad that you set up and it's done. You have to keep showing up. This is my favorite way to overcome the mental barrier of actually creating content. You're going to create a podcast, and what I want you guys to do, it could be virtual. It does not have to be in person. Ideally, podcasts are done in person for higher quality, but if you can't, that's fine. And you're going to invite all of your top clients. You're going to invite potential strategic partners and all of the authorities in your niche. The goal is to position yourself as an authority, open up your network, and you can even use it as a tool for client nurturing and acquisition. But for example, let's say you have a dental agency. Now you invite all of your top dental clients on the podcast. Anytime you have a crazy case study, you invite them on the podcast. It's a secret testimonial video, which, by the way, is much easier to consume than an actual testimonial video because it's a podcast. Then you're like, you know what? Let's connect with one of the most famous dentists in the United States. Let me just send them an email and see if they'd be down to hop on the podcast. And lo and behold, they reply back. They say, sure, I'd love to be on your podcast, because they're not getting hit up to be on podcasts. So now you're able to expand your network. You just connected with the best dentist in the United States of America. Or let's say that you want to connect with the CEO of Invisalign, and you're a dental agency. Invite them on your podcast. And guess what? Now all of your prospects see you, and they're like, oh, shit, you've been hanging out with a CEO of Invisalign? That's crazy. This guy must be really good. It's one of the easiest ways to build authority, to create a shit ton of content, and to build your network all at once, and actually commit to it. Because it's not a crazy camera setup. You don't have to act. You don't have to learn what to say. You're just doing a podcast. It's a conversation. But most importantly, the goal is for for this to be your core piece of content that you can actually commit to. You already said that. What you're going to do on this podcast, you're going to talk about the industry as a whole. You're also going to use it as an opportunity to constantly be selling without selling. So talk about objections throughout your podcasts that your prospects have. So Vimal, what's the biggest objection that you guys get in your dental agency, now that we're doing dental as the example? Okay, I've tried it and it didn't work. You could literally bake that into your podcast and make it your final question that you ask every guest. Everyone, you say, this is how we end off the podcast. Everyone in the dental marketing industry says, we've already tried this. It doesn't work. What do you have to say to that, Dr. John? And maybe you make that your final question of every single podcast. Now you're baking in the objection handling into your content. And now anyone that consumes this podcast is going to be much more likely to buy from you. I'm essentially telling you guys, hey, this is how you can take the idea of building a personal brand, but make an ROI out of it. Or get an ROI out of it. Oh, by the way, if you're going to do it virtually, I highly recommend you guys check out, I do it in person, but if you're going to do a virtual podcast, highly recommend you check out My First Million. These two guys, they do a virtual podcast, and their setup looks really nice. I would model their setup if you can't do it in person. You're going to do 1 episode per week. That's all I need you to commit to, 1 hour a week. Can everyone commit to 1 hour a week? It's very easy to commit to. If you can't commit to 1 hour a week, then you probably shouldn't just do content as a whole and let this go. But if you want to build a personal brand, and I highly recommend it, I would commit to 1 hour per week, and you'll end up at the end of the year with 50 episodes, 50 hours. If anyone looks you up that's thinking of working with you guys at the end of the year, they're going to see an entire digital footprint. They're going to see you guys all over the internet. Think about it. If someone is thinking of working with your dental marketing agency and they go on YouTube and they see 50 YouTube videos, that also has social proof. That also tells people, oh, these guys have been around. Now you're going to take every single episode, you're going to upload it to YouTube, Spotify, you're going to do a daily email blast every single time you get a new YouTube video, blast it out to your list, and you're going to clip up the content for a short form. So now anyone that finds you on the internet is going to be consuming the 10 videos that you initially created and this podcast. We already talked about that. And I'd probably say one of the biggest hidden benefits of building a brand and content is your ability to network and connect with people. For me, I've built up such a big brand with hundreds of thousands of followers that now whenever I invite someone to hop on my podcast, they're like, okay, there's value in that. But for you guys, you're not trying to be that viral, and the connections that you probably want are more niched. Like yesterday, I was talking to one of you guys that wants to acquire e-com brands. What I would actually do is invite every single e-com brand that I'm thinking of acquiring on my podcast first. Now I get to spend time with them, talk to them for an hour, maybe 2 hours. In fact, if I'm doing an in-person podcast, I could fly them out and spend a whole day with them. One of the biggest, this is kind of a side note, one of the biggest challenges at my level has been finding coaches that are willing to share at the 9-figure level. So I was thinking about this, and I realized, why not just invite them on my podcast, but then offer to fly out, and now I get to spend a whole day with them for free. So for example, with Vic Keller, he's a billionaire. He sold 8 companies directly to Warren Buffett. Now I get to hang out with him for a whole day. So that's the Authority Podcast. Does that make sense? How are you guys feeling? Good? Eddie? Awesome. So, quick disclaimer, at this point, you will have the foundation of a niched brand. I truly believe everyone should follow the 10 videos, do the 10 videos, and do this podcast. I believe that should be on everyone's to-do list. It's easy to do. It's 1 hour a week. The 10 videos, it's a little bit more work up front, but now you have truly nurturing content on the internet to convert prospects that are thinking of working with you guys. At this point, though, you have to ask yourself, do you want to go bigger? And if you want to build a personal brand like mine or what Eddie's doing that goes bigger than just your niche, just dental, for example, following that analogy. You want to be known outside of the dental space. You want to be known in the business space, then keep watching. Well, obviously, you guys are sitting here, so you're going to keep watching regardless. But I've got, like, YouTube ingrained in me now. Like, I speak in YouTube. If you guys want this, keep watching. Seriously, if you just focused on commandments 1 to 3, you'll be farther ahead than 99% of people, and all of your content will lead to a direct ROI in terms of converting clients, connecting with the top players in your niche, and being seen as an authority. However, if you want to take it a step further and compete with all the top dogs in the business niche as a business personal brand, this is what I would do next. First, I would build something so fucking valuable, it blows people's minds. You want to ask yourself, what would I have to create in the business space, in the business niche, to blow my audience's mind? And then I want you to take that and go 10 times crazier. So this is one of the huge pillars that blew me up. We went from 40,000 Instagram followers to 674,000 in like a year. We went from 6,000 on YouTube to 246,000 in a year. Why did that happen? This right here was one of the core things that really blew up my brand. I added more value than every single other person in my niche. Period. And I did it in a crazier way. We went through this exact exercise. We literally mapped out, well, how could we add more value than everyone else? And this is when we came up with our core tagline. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but I tell people I'm on a mission to destroy all the gurus on the internet by giving everything away for free. And what we did is we gave everything away for free. I gave away not 1, not 2, but 3 courses with hundreds of hours of content. I gave away the ads, the scripts, the funnels, the templates, everything that someone would need to go out and be successful. And this is part of what blew me up. And if you look at the biggest brands in the space, what they're doing is they're adding 10 times more value. And value doesn't have to be in terms of knowledge to grow your business. For example, Mr. Beast is adding 10 times more value in the form of entertainment. He's making videos 10 times more entertaining than someone else. So if you guys are trying to build your names in the business niche, here's exactly what I would do. I would make a free course on the most valuable thing that you can make a free course on. So for example, my top closer is actually here at this event. Where are you at, Adrian? Adrian, top closer for our company, and he's looking to build this brand as a closer. I said, the first thing you want to do is give away a free course where you teach people how you became the #1 closer and made hundreds of thousands of dollars in commission, and give it away for free. That's the first thing I told him to do. And you don't want to ask for an email. You don't want to ask people for money. You want to build trust. At the end of the day, when you're building a brand, when you're creating content, you're essentially creating relationships at scale. Neil, you know me. We've been building our relationship for a few years. We've hung out multiple times. It's one-to-one. But what happens with content is you're able to build these relationships at scale. Whether or not I show up, people are actually watching my videos right now. Getting to know me, getting to know my personality, getting to know how I talk, getting to know my value. And it's happening automatically. So we want to make it really easy for people to engage with this free material, and we don't want to ask for anything. I don't even want to ask them for their email. I don't want to ask them for anything. I don't want to ask for $1. I would literally upload this free course straight to YouTube as one massive video, and all that I would do is throughout the video have call to actions for people to work with you if you're trying to monetize. If you're not trying to monetize, I wouldn't do that. And then just link your funnel in the description. Like the core philosophy for our brand has been give away so much and add so much value, and naturally people want to work with us. I don't pitch on YouTube ever. I do pitch on my Instagram stories, but I never pitch on YouTube. It's just value. and more value and more value and more value. So then after that, what you want to do is rinse and repeat. Keep trying to outgive yourself and give away more and more and more. Commandment number 5, new is better than better. This is really important. New is better than better. Many of you admire personal brands like Hormozi or Iman, but if you model them, what's going to happen is you're only going to be second best, even if your content is better. They've already established themselves as the category king. And people will always choose to watch the creator that they know over a stranger, especially in the same style. You need to create your own niche. And to do this, you need to take a certain angle at an existing niche. This is really important, this framework right here. I actually learned it from my creative director, Lyndon. X, but X. X, but X. For me, it was agency content, but I give everything away for free. That's what allowed me to stand out. If we go back to commandment number 4, I did something crazy by giving everything away for free. But the niche already existed. Having a unique twist on your content gives people a real reason to watch you. So for example, Ryan Doris is one of the fastest growing channels on YouTube right now. Productivity, but based on science. X, but X. Business, but based on history. Look at that. The Mirror Principle made me a millionaire in 4 years. So he's taking viral business content about how to become a millionaire, but he's putting it in the context of history. For me, it was SMMA, but free. Does that make sense? Cool. How you guys feeling? Good? All right. It's commandment number 6. It's an ideation game. How many, Lyndon, Tropic, how many ideas have we made? So we've made thousands of ideas. How many have actually been recorded? Probably 20 out of 10, 5 to 10,000. The game of content is an idea game. It's an ideation game. The person who makes better ideas or comes up with better ideas will win. As Mr. Beast said, or at least he says something like this, you're not in the content business, you're in the idea business. In order to create the best content, you need to have the best ideas. We create 100 ideas per week, at least, and pick the best ones. The key is volume. We follow the IDEO design philosophy. It's a massive consulting company that helps big Fortune 500s with design thinking, and their whole philosophy is we're going to just come up with ideas without judgment, and the best idea is going to be like the 100th idea, not the first one, not the second one, not the third one. We're just going to keep throwing ideas without judgment, and eventually we'll land on something really, really good. So we literally block out time every single week to come up with ideas, and most of them don't see the light of day. For ideas, we like to study other niches. For example, drop shipping was really popular. Not as popular as agency as a niche. So we studied all of their highest performing videos to come up with some ideas for ourselves. We study people with low subscriber to view count for ideas. This is really, really powerful. We look for something called outlier videos. So if someone with very few subscribers is blowing up and getting hundreds of thousands of views, it's not because they're already famous. It's because their video is that good. Those are the videos that we study. Here's the problem. Most of you guys are studying big brands that already have a lot of followers. But now it's skewed because they might create a piece of content that will go viral because of who they are, not because of how good their video is. If Kim Kardashian made a video today about something dumb, it's going to go viral regardless. It's going to work regardless because of who she is, not because of how good the video is. So we like to study videos where there's a low subscriber to view count. All of this applies to long and short form, by the way. We also like to analyze trends. So for example, we noticed that people were blowing up, uploading full-on courses straight to YouTube. like 12 to 20 hour courses right on YouTube as one video. So then we hopped on that trend, and we immediately upload a 12-hour course. It went out, I think, on Monday. It's a 12-hour video right on YouTube. Here, let's keep going. Let me see how I'm doing on time. How much time do I have? I don't know. We started late, right? All right. All right, sweet. Go faster? All right. Let's see, where am I at? Yeah, we already talked about this. Cool. Is everyone clear on that? Ideation game. We come up with a lot of fucking ideas. At some point, though, you have to make a choice. Do you want to go viral? Is there anyone here that wants a lot of views? Maybe there is someone. Okay. Ryan, what's up? Of course Ryan wants to go viral. Well, I'm going to teach you guys how I did it. Want more views? You have to do viral shit. It's that simple. So you need to have viral elements in the form of the idea. So for example, Mr. Beast is genius at this. He made a video where he buried himself alive for 50 hours. That's a viral idea right off the hook. People are going to click on that video regardless. You need to have viral elements in the form of visuals. So for example, I think Eddie told me when he puts a Lambo in his Instagram, he gets way more views right out of the gate just because of that one viral element. So you want to have viral elements in the form of visuals, what people see. You're competing against so much noise on the internet. The moment you have something that stands out in relation to everything else that's out there, people are going to stop and watch. And by the way, I know most of you guys don't want to go viral, but I will say this. All of these things will make the best ads. My ads now are crazy, and they work so much better. For example, we look for viral clips that have over 100 million views on TikTok, and we take that one clip and make it the first 2 seconds of our ad. And it has nothing to do with the rest of the ad. But it's the most viral type of content on the internet that's going to stop your brain from scrolling and actually watch the ad. So all of these things that I'm teaching you, even if you're not trying to be famous, I would absolutely apply them to your ads. You want to have viral elements in the form of copy. So for example, I tell people all the time, I'm on a mission to destroy all of the gurus on the internet by giving everything away for free. That's a viral statement. My copy is viral. It has viral elements. I'm talking about gurus, destroying them, giving everything away for free. The copy has a lot of viral elements. You want to have viral elements in the form of your energy. And this is actually what I do. One of the things that really blew me up on social media is I started to actually bring a new level of energy into my videos. So right now I'm pretty monotone, right? But if I get really intense right now and I look at you, it pulls you in whether you want it or not, you know? And now you feel like I'm talking to you. It's energy. It's actually acting, if we really had to boil it down. And this is probably one of the biggest opportunities for people to stand out on ads, for people to stand out on content, is that most people are very monotone. But this is going to sound crazy. When I record my videos, I actually like to think of an emotion like happiness or anger or excitement, and I'll actually visualize something that makes me angry or excited or happy, and I'll kind of walk around the room a little bit, and then I'll sit down and record and try to really be in that peak energy. And here's why. People don't remember what you said to them. They remember how you made them feel. Yet most content on the internet is just what's being said. But you know what's interesting? I studied Hormozy's most viral videos, and it was him just talking about his hard times. He was opening up. He was being vulnerable. He was making people feel something. My most viral videos really come down to the idea that I learned how to get people to feel something on my videos. And it's just in the form of energy. And you guys have ads that who here runs ads for themselves or their clients? Okay, a lot more. The people in those ads are monotone. They're boring. They're not standing out. But if they get really excited, oh my God, it's going to grab their attention. So you guys want to introduce this if you're doing ads. Obviously, having viral elements in the form of your lifestyle. There's this guy named Tom Cruise, and he literally is like showing his yacht and how much he spends on it. It's viral, right? It's viral in the form of a lifestyle. If you're trying to go viral, you also want to talk about hot buttons. Talk about things that, again, are going to spark an emotion, get people to react. We already talked about that. And by the way, if you're very monotone, if you have a very one-dimensional personality in terms of how your energy level is, highly recommend you guys to do improvised comedy. Take an improvised comedy class. It's going to force you into other emotions and make you very uncomfortable, and then you'll be really comfortable tapping in. Cool, let's keep going. If you guys want to get more views, another option is to create a viral character. So if you actually look at Andrew Tate, I guarantee you he's not the same on camera versus off camera. I guarantee you there's some sort of shift. Maybe it's not crazy, but I promise you the character that you're seeing him play is an exaggerated version of himself, or at least an exaggerated version of parts of himself. Or if you look at Alex Becker, if you watch his YouTube videos, he starts them by playing this character, and you could tell he's just having fun with it, he's acting, but he's playing exaggerated versions of himself. And the key thing here, I don't tell anyone that's trying to go viral to change who they are, but I absolutely tell them, if you want to go viral, if you want to get a lot of views, play heightened versions of yourself. So if you're already an intense person, how can you show up as more intense on camera? If you're a very lighthearted, fun person, how can you show that off on camera? And again, this is not for everyone, but if you want to go viral, you know you're going to need to do this. Also, last thing in terms of going viral, this is one of the biggest lessons. To go viral, you need to reach a lot of people, right? You can't go viral with 5,000 views. It's millions of people. So therefore, you have to create content that appeals to the masses. You're not going to go viral with niched content. So again, go back to commandment number 1. For most of you guys, the goal is not to get views. The goal is to make money. But if your goal is to get views, you're going to need to make content that goes wider, that goes more mass market. Cool. Commandment number 8, you are a TV show. This applies to everyone. Think about Game of Thrones. When you sit down and watch Game of Thrones, what do you expect? You expect some dragons, you expect someone's head to get cut off, you expect some sort of war to be at play. Now, say you turn on the next Game of Thrones episode and you see my SMMA video. You're like, here's how to scale your agency to 100K a month. People are going to be like, what is going on? Your viewers see your channel and your content, so your prospects, anyone that's watching you, they see it like a TV show. So if your content is all over the place, the viewer won't come back. Just like you wouldn't come back to Game of Thrones if you turned it into an SMMA podcast. So what you want to do is you want to make one style of content. This applies to the podcast that I was talking about earlier. This applies to any sort of content that you're going to create. Make it in one style for one viewer. In terms of editing, in terms of copywriting, in terms of the video format, in terms of the length. And then all you want to do is you want to have 2 to 3 different shows. You want to have 2 to 3 different content buckets. So for example, if you wanted to take it one step further than the podcast, you could have the podcast. You could have 10-minute ad reviews for dental practices. That's bucket number 2. And maybe bucket number 3 is you actually fly out and do like a day in the life of a dentist. And you interview them, you hang out with them, and again, they talk about you and how much you've helped them with your marketing. But those are 3 different content buckets. The podcast, the 10-minute ad reviews, and the day in the life. And now when people tune in or come back, they know what to expect. And this is how you grow really, really fast. So for example, you look at Mr. Beast, he's got one style for one viewer. It's the same over and over and over again. If you look at my content, there's 3 different buckets. We do podcast interviews, we do master classes that are long, and we do free courses. Those are our 3 content buckets. And we just rinse and repeat those 3 different styles of content. Now, if you're trying to monetize your brand, you're going to need a content funnel. So if you're like, Joel, how do you make money from your brand? You need a content funnel. So here's how we turn viewers into paying customers. First, you're going to post wide short-form content. Short-form is the easiest way to get 1 million views, and the goal here is to go viral. So we're going to drive all of that content back to my long-form content on YouTube. If you guys actually go back and study my Instagram, you'll see that I'm always plugging my YouTube channel. I'm always plugging my YouTube channel because I know that it's going to be a really hard time. It's going to be a really hard time for me to get someone to buy off of an Instagram reel. They don't really know, like me, and trust me yet. So if I can drive that traffic back to YouTube, and now they get to spend an hour with me, 2 hours with me, 10 hours with me, 20 hours with me, the likelihood of them buying go way up. Again, I'm trying to build a virtual relationship with my audience. It's not going to happen off of a 60-second video. So the way that we monetize is very simple. We create viral short-form videos that are mass market. So we do go wider. We talk about topics that speak to a lot of people. And then we pretty much say, hey, if you're trying to start or scale an agency, go watch this video on YouTube. Head over to my channel. I've got this free course on my YouTube. This is really the sauce of how I grew my YouTube. And if you actually look at the biggest YouTube channels that are popping up right now, it's not actually them popping up on YouTube. Most of the time, there are some exceptions, but most of the time, it's people learned how to drive traffic from viral content on short form to long form content on YouTube. Because it's a lot easier to go viral on short form than it is on long form. And what happens is there's a few things. Number one, I do, we tested this out. I don't think it worked that well, so I actually wouldn't do the CTA in the second half of the video. But what we do is we link everything in our description. All of the ways that you can work with us, it's all linked in our description of our YouTube videos. 5 more minutes? Oh, damn. All right, let's see. Cool, so in those videos, the viewer will be nurtured with hours and hours of value. And again, we leave links in descriptions with a direct call to action to our offer. And if they're not ready to buy, they're going to go and watch more videos. So it's this endless loop of getting people warmed up. If they don't buy right now, they go watch more videos until they're ready to buy. And the idea is that you'll have built up so much goodwill that it's a much easier close. Cool. You guys see that? Sweet. Commandment number 10, last commandment, build an A-level content team. So I actually only film once a week for about 3 to 4 hours on Sunday. That way it doesn't interrupt any of my business. I don't worry about anything else. It used to take me about 15 hours per week, and I didn't see any results. And here's why. Most of us are business owners first, not creators first. So what's the solution? You actually want to hire creators. You want to, if you really want to take this seriously, I would hire, everyone starts with a video guy. I don't know, I made that mistake too. Everyone starts with, I'm going to get a video guy. I would actually start with a creative director, someone that is actually creating already in their life. Because they're going to be able to take the entire process off of your plate. So I actually hired 2 creative directors that had a ton of experience. And after that, we have a Rolodex of editors. I actually don't have any full-time editors anymore. We got rid of that. We have a Rolodex of editors, and what we do is we have like 10, so that whenever we need one, we can hit up the Rolodex, and they can edit our videos. So no in-house editing. The only in-house team members for content are the creative directors. We do have a social media manager that posts and manages all that and makes sure the editors are getting the videos from the creative directors, all that good stuff. All in all, I pay around $20,000 a month for content. Sweet. So, along with high level. I think that's pretty much it. Thank you, guys. Do we have time for like 5 minutes Q&A or no? Yes? Cool. I'm going to get my creative directors on stage as well. Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Hello. What's up, Joel? My name's Hassan. Been your
Yo.
course. Shout
Dude,
out.
I know you. You don't have to say your name.
It's all good. Hey, so Joel, for the 10 videos that you said, like at minimum do those, for the 8 case studies, how would you title those videos? Would you say case study with a client, or how would you do that?
You go for it.
Yeah, I can take it. So for those videos, you're usually going to want to like map out the transformation that they had in the title, right? So let's say that they added an additional 30K a month onto their revenue, right? Like, so let's say, you know, they went from, for Joel, it's easy, right? We have from 0 to 30K, right? Like John went from 0 to 30K with his SMMA, or like he went from 0 to 30K with one skill. We tried to just make it a little bit more interesting and map that transformation out in the title.
But definitely make it sound like a YouTube video. Again, the key is to like get people to think they're watching a YouTube video, but it's actually a case study.
What's up, man? How's things?
What's up?
So, quick question about when you said...
Sorry, you said how's things, and I was like, it was just a cultural difference. I was just confused for like a second.
Yeah,
yeah,
like, that's UK. That's UK. That's UK.
I was like, my brain was like, anyways. Yeah.
All good, man. All good. So yeah, question about when you said outlier videos. So you were talking about channels with low sub counts but high views. How would you go about finding channels and videos like that?
So the main way that we like to do it is we'll go in like an incognito tab on your browser, and then we'll kind of search for a topic. So for example, in the finance niche, we'll go to like a random dropshipping video, and then on the suggested on the sidebar, you'll get a lot of great videos right there. And then you can also build on that channel. So you can also make a channel and just watch like dropshipping content or whatever content it would be, and then your homepage will start to get filled with that content. And it's just a machine. You get all the videos in that niche.
I think it's like we just spend time on YouTube looking for it based on the niche. That's like the honest
Time in the game, yeah.
Yeah, like we're just looking all the time. Like for example, there's this guy that just had a 1 million view video in the dropshipping niche, and I immediately sent it to them. It's just like, oh shit, this is working right now.
That was the 18-hour course.
And
Yeah.
would you say there's any specific or any like range, like ratio range you'd say that would be like?
Yeah, so you're gonna want to look for at least a 3x multiple, but preferably a 5x multiple, which means like, so there's this tool called 1 of 10. It's basically an outlier, like you basically analyzes outlier videos and it shows you them. So you can search up like dropshipping, SMMA, dentistry, any niche that you want, and it'll show you videos with different multiples. And what we like to look for is at least a 3 to 5x multiple. But if you find one that has like an 100x multiple, that's a very, very good video to make. So that's 1of10.com. I would recommend using them if you're thinking about it.
1of10.com?
Yeah, 1of10.com.
Cool, perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah. What's up, Joel? Quick question. When you're doing the research and you're modeling a video, can you talk a little bit about, okay, you find a winner, you know you want to model it. How quick do you have to get it out for that to still be relevant and work? Or can you take time to make it a quality video? Or do you need to produce it and get it out quick?
I would say as long as you're the first in your niche, in your category. Okay. Like if someone else executes on that idea first, I think the second person will have a worse response in terms of views. That being said, like our core philosophy has always just been make better videos. So I would say, yes, get it out, but not on the sacrifice of quality. But ideally, you're first, yeah.
Yeah, as fast as possible.
So my question is, how did you guys end up coming to work with Joel?
Well, we were both doing our own YouTube thing. Like, I had my own channel where I was, just trying different businesses. I was, we weren't, doing anything crazy, but we were pulling in pretty good views for our content, right? So we were creators, we weren't business people, but we were in the business niche. And like, for example,
we're just getting started in businesses.
yeah, exactly. So we would do videos like I tried dropshipping for 30 days. I tried SMMA for 30 days. And the SMMA one did pretty well. I think it got like 60 or 70,000 views. And then Joel saw that video. I think I had a bigger channel than you at the time. So you reached out to me for a collab. And then,
Oh, go ahead.
okay. And then for you, I think you had a similar channel to mine. And Joel saw your thumbnails. And he was like, oh, damn, like those are some good thumbnails. So he told me to reach out to you. And then we all just got connected.
And that was,
I
that was
think-
in January of last year. So it's
I
been
think
about
there's a huge arbitrage opportunity where creators are. You guys have gotten a lot better at business, you know.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Like most creators are really bad at business, and they're not making any money. And you guys are really bad at content and creating, and really good at business. That creates an opportunity where there's some really amazing, like there's this one of your friends, Jenny. She averages like 10 million views per video, and she charges like $200 an hour for consulting. And I was like, I'll fucking pay it. Yeah, let's go right now. I was like, sign me up. You know, let's do 3-pack. You know, so you've got like one of the most viral creators on the internet that is on track to be like the Mr. Beast of short form, and she's speaking at VidCon, right? Like,
yeah, VidSummit.
yeah, and it's only $200 an hour. Like that shows the opportunity. So I think there's a lot of creators out there that you could hire.
100%. And I would also say, if you're looking to hire a creative director, ytjobs.co is one of the best places. That's all really good YouTube talent. Also, if you just go on Twitter, there's a huge community there that you can hire from that's really talented people.
Jenny Hoyos.
YT, like YouTube, ytjobs.co. 1of10.com. Yeah, the number. 1 of, and then the number 10.com.
So, Joel, so similar to that question, how do you convince two creators that could obviously make more money creating for themselves to come work for you?
I would say reach out before they're making that kind of money.
Is there a subscriber count you look for?
No, I mean, no. I think like, I know you guys. I guess that's funny. I didn't, but it's like it's true, right? If you grab someone too late in their journey where they've matured and really crushed it, like if I reached out to you guys now with your agency, it would have been tough, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of creators that aren't making a lot of money. I would say there's more creators that aren't making a lot of money than creators that are making a lot of money. I would also say, like, give people a path. Like, I told these guys, hey, if you work with me and you do a great job, I'm going to promote you. I'm going to help you guys out. I'm going to mentor you. I'm going to give you access to my network. I'm going to give you opportunities like this. Like, literally last night, I was like, hey, guys, let's see if I can get you guys on the Q&A at the end. So also just being creating a path of opportunity for them to grow with you as well.
Dope, thanks.
On the amount of content that you're creating, to me a two-part question. On the amount of content you're creating, are you starting with the core platform first?
I would say if I were you, I would start with, like, you have such a wealth of knowledge. I would create something crazy in your industry. I wouldn't make it mass market. I would be like, for e-com or for agencies, like something really valuable that you're almost uncomfortable giving away. And I would also spend a lot of time like making it amazing. Like create something truly amazing that's your core piece of content. And then what I would do is I would upload it 100% on YouTube. And because again, if I get them into YouTube, now I'm spending time with them. Whereas like Twitter is great, but you're not really spending time with people the same way that someone is spending time with you when they watch your podcast on YouTube or watch 10 hours of your course. So I would figure out, if I were you, what's the biggest, most valuable thing ever that you could create and invest time to create, put it on YouTube, and then use your Twitter following, your LinkedIn following to drive traffic to it. Be like, I gave this thing away on YouTube. 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 So I would start with that core thing, upload it on YouTube, and then use all of your other platforms to drive traffic.
Thank you. Second question is, how often are you recycling some hits from before? Is it 5 days?
For
is it a
short
month?
form?
Correct.
Quite a bit. For short form, it doesn't, like for YouTube, we've never recycled videos. But for short form, we take viral videos and kind of re-edit them, remake them, put a different spin on it. Maybe once a month.
Joel, over here. Hey, I just want to ask you guys, so when you said you have a Rolodex of editors, why not have them in-house? Aren't you concerned about them stealing style or giving that information away to someone else who could snipe them?
To be honest, we've had challenges with editors, like once they're full-time, they get lazy. Now I'm like, you know what's crazy? We pay $25 per video edit, at least for short form. And I'm making them compete with each other, and I know it's very kind of an aggressive style, but the alternative just wasn't working for us. I think that if I was working with like Fortune 500 companies where the editor needed to be really involved with the client, I would definitely have an in-house editor. But for a short form video where I've already mastered the style that I want, I just need people that are going to do it fast, show up, 24-hour turnaround time, and like, that's it. So I think it's become a role, I believe, that there's so much competition for that it just doesn't even make sense. How do you guys feel about that? Because I know that's...
Yeah, I would also say a lot of people who aren't in the YouTube world, they just don't know where to hire editors. There's a ton of editors that you guys can hire. Like, there's editors that hit me up every day looking for jobs, and they're really talented. Like, I would say, again, the best places, YT Jobs and Twitter. Like, they hang out there, and if you guys can get into those, like, worlds, you'll have just an endless supply of very talented people.
I will say this, too, like, editing is, you know, the idea of the 80-20. The 80-20 is making really good content. The editing is just like the icing on the cake. It's not the cake. It's the 20% that, you know, of results, not the 80%.
Do you guys have long form in-house as well? Or is that also outsourced?
No, we have Rolodex of long form editors now.
Thank you.
How can I decide if I should go viral or stay niche on YouTube?
What's your business?
E-commerce email marketing, and now we are diversifying for more e-commerce services, but e-commerce.
For e-commerce, I would start with the podcasts that I talked about in the 10 videos, and then I would just make, I would not try to go viral. That's not what I would try to do. If anything, you could do highly targeted, like 60-second e-com breakdowns, where you break down a certain store, but like the goal is not to go viral again. The goal is just to get
videos, right?
What's up?
No dropshipping videos.
I wouldn't make if you're trying to work with e-com brands, no, I wouldn't make dropshipping videos.
That's the only thing that is viral, really, I think.
No, I wouldn't do viral. The only reason to do viral is if you want to really build a big personal brand, I believe. But that, you know, we were talking about this earlier, that also has its consequences too. Like, now, I question every day if I want this many views, because you put yourself out there to such an intense degree, and mentally it's not easy. Even if, you know what's crazy, I put out the free course, I got like, man, hundreds of positive comments, and one guy was talking shit, and it's like, it's hard. Look, it's hard. It's not easy. It's like, because you're constantly putting yourself out there in an extreme way, so then you get exposed to the world, and it can be really challenging. So I think also, if you're trying to build a massive personal brand, be very sure that that's what you want to do.
Yeah,
So.
thanks.
Awesome. This is great.
What's up, man?
Yeah.
How are you?
Dude? Good. Love the actionable content, right? 10 steps. I feel like I heard a contradiction in the presentation, so I know I'm not understanding something. So this is more for the creative directors. I heard on one hand, new is better than better, and you should create your own niche. And on the flip side, you should make content that appeals to everybody. So help me reconcile those. How are we going about making niche content that appeals to everybody? How do I think about that?
Well, it just depends on what you're aiming for, right? Like, I mean, even in niche content, you can still come up with stuff that's new, right? Like ideas, you can still come up with new things. You can still steal things. It just depends on what you're going for, whether you're going for viral or whether you're going for niche. Does that answer your question?
So the viral stuff is more. The viral stuff is more for appealing for everybody.
Yeah, that's more mass market. That's where you're trying to be extremely broad. You're trying to keep things really simple, where you'd even use like basic language. You wouldn't go like super in depth in your copy. You keep things very basic, and then you could funnel it down.
It could be like, instead of, let's say everyone after today goes and starts a dental marketing podcast, all the dental agencies, and now that's gotten saturated. So then maybe it's like dental marketing podcast, but a documentary. And now you're creating a 60-minute documentary where you're flying out to the practice, you're talking about the transformation. So that's kind of like, it's still a dental marketing podcast, but in the documentary style. It still has a, what's up? It just it'll allow you to stand out in a saturated space of content, Okay.
And it comes back to the goals of like nurturing or going viral.
For most of you guys, my goal would be, how do I create content that nurtures people, and how do I create content that gets me into the right rooms? Which for most of you guys, it's like the podcast, and that's pretty much it, really. Like that, and by the way, one of my challenges with events like this, I'm sure you guys feel it too, is that your mind just like has like 1,000 things to do, right? And it's overwhelming, and then you don't end up taking action on most of the things. So what I wanted to hopefully do for you guys is like, if that's all you walk away with, you're like, I'm going to launch this podcast, I promise you this 60 minutes that we had is going to be very well worth it. I promise you're going to get an ROI from it, because it's going to allow you to get into the right rooms with the right people and increase your conversion rate. So honestly, aside from that, I probably wouldn't do much to start.
All right. So, hey, Joel, what's going on, man? This is a question for you. So a lot of this event has actually been focused on like M&A, right? And so I think we all know the content, sells. I think we all know the personal brands are powerful. So what's the overlap, in your opinion, from having a personal brand to actually building your business on that, where you can still maintain, a higher level of valuation,
Okay, so that's a really interesting question. If I could go back in time, I would have never built my business on my personal brand at all. Zero. I wouldn't have ever sold even a book. Because with content, what you're doing is time's up. Yeah. Get the fuck off stage. Last thing. So I think with one of the biggest challenges for me personally has actually been that because I have to build a business off of my personal brand, it's become very inevitably it becomes transactional. And then you can't have genuine relationships with your audience because there's an ask. And the more you ask, the more transactional it becomes. So if I could go back in time, the way that I would have built my personal brand, I would have posted the same things, I would have given away the courses, but I would have never pitched anything. In a perfect world, my brand existed outside of my businesses. But this is for me, right?
So, you mentioned earlier that
like now, so we have a venture studio where we are launching new companies, new offers. And what we're doing now is we're building the company brand with a podcast, with those 10 videos. It's not based on an influencer, if that makes sense. There's no face to it. It's just the company is the company, and we create content around that. And I think also one more thing, the more that you sell through your personal brand, what happens is also like, it weighs on you, like, cause then you have to like, there's a lot of pressure. You have to keep showing up, and it kind of traps you from building a more sustainable business, I would say. So if I could go back in time, I wouldn't have ever sold, so.
Yeah, it's a tough in between, especially if, like we established earlier, the number one intent of everyone in this room is to make money from their content as opposed to views, right?
Well, I would make a podcast that's not the Joel Kaplan podcast. You could make the dental marketing podcast, where you still invite people, you can still get the outcome, but people are buying your agency and the transformation. They're not buying you. If Vimmel created a podcast for dental marketing, they're not like, oh my God, I want to work with Vimmel. They're like, I want to work with his agency. I watched their agency's podcast, and it was awesome. You see what I'm saying?
Do you feel it's less potent? I'm sorry, this is the last bit. Do you feel it's less potent without having a face? Like, if it's an agency, like a brand, right? Like, advertising on any platform, I've always had more success advertising from, like, with a face, right? Do you
having a face is different than you being the reason why people buy. So it's like, you're still, like, if Vimmel were to create a podcast, I would say don't call it the Vimmel podcast. Make it the podcast for dentists or whatever you want to call it. Even if he's the face and they like Vimmel, that's not, they're ultimately still signing up with his agency, whereas for me, it was the opposite. I put my name first, my business second.
Got it.
So I don't mind you being the content creator for your business, but be the business, be a spokesperson for your business, not just you.
I like that approach. Thank you.
Yeah, I would also say that those do, like having a face usually does perform a little bit better.